Hi, I'm Coach MK.
Hi, I'm Coach Sarah.
And I'm the founder of the Fitness Protection Program, and Coach Sarah is my MVP, my right hand, and the coach that makes all of the programs happen on a day-to-day basis. Several years ago when I became a coach, this lovely accidental second career, I couldn't help but notice that the pipeline was flawed. People were coming in asking for one thing and we were giving them something else. And that thing that we were giving them didn't always make them feel good. So it might have been a little surprising when I opened up this coaching business that cost $30 a month and offered 10-week marathon plans. And I shudder a little bit at that because I don't want to be reduced to a gimmicky 10-week training plan. The way I like to look at it is if you train the way that I train without stopping year round, without putting any unnecessary pressure in places where pressure doesn't belong, trying to force an outcome, then magic happens. You can run all the races you want. You only need 10 weeks to really get ramped up for a marathon. I'm not about throwing excess energy into the ether unless I'm positive it's going to come back to me and give me what exactly it was that I worked for. And that's not a promise I could make for my runners in previous roles. It is something I can absolutely do here. But it's hard to explain since nothing like this really exists out there. The fun of being a visionary is I can't just tell you, I got to show you. Well, very quietly for the past 6 months, we've had people training on my 10-week plans. We've had people just showing up and being like, I really don't need to train for a half marathon. I'm like, no, you've been here for 3 months. You're good. Go race. And they have proven my concept much more soundly than I had ever imagined. In fact, you're going to hear from some very, very, very happy people today. And this is exactly how I want everyone to feel every day of their lives, not just after a race. And this is rarely what I get from people on race day because of the nature of who we are and the nature of people who gravitate towards something like distance running, overachievers, strivers, people who are excellent, who are badasses absolutely everywhere, and who are willing to see what they could do better in order to give their best. Knowing that you do that in every aspect of your life, I'm never going to take a drop of energy that I don't need and you can't use in fitness protection. And I can't wait for you to listen to this podcast, learn a little more about this concept, and prove its efficacy. Hi, I'm Coach MK, founder of the Fitness Protection Program. I'm a run coach, not a life coach. We're never really talking about the running. Running is the tool. It's the conduit we use to examine the world we live in, as well as its impact on our own lives and the lives of the people around us. How we react to certain people and to certain stories tells us a lot about how we view ourselves. I'm committed to the thoughtful, intentional exploration of the importance of running so that no one discounts their own badassery, ever. Final note, this podcast is geared towards every runner who won't lose their home, livelihood, or health insurance if they show up to the corral with a hangover. Not that I'm encouraging you to do that, just saying. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Fitness Protection Podcast.
So here we are. We have 7 voice memos from 7 of the amazing people who ran races this fall with the Fitness Protection Program.
And I'm really excited, not just what they have to say, but to hear how people will react to this, because I know what we're doing feels a little unorthodox, but I promise it's just a different presentation of the same thing that's always been done. One thing I've learned for sure over the course of my life is that pressure is not, in fact, what turns coal into a diamond. In fact, pressure and stress don't help anyone. Maybe it might help you get your act together to do something you don't really want to do at the last minute, but again, it doesn't necessarily improve the outcome. More stress, more of the time is not more better. For years, I've said that this has been a critical flaw in the coaching model. Most business models that I see will lure people in the door to train for an event. And now the clock is ticking. You've paid for a plan, for coaching, for resources. You've paid for an outcome. And no matter what we do, the focus is on that day. And there's so much that's out of your control on race day that's really not worth thinking about. It would be easy to get depressed if we were going to think of it that way. But there's also a whole lot that's out of my control, because what I can't control is your fitness level on day one. And that really is when the die is cast. What you do in the off season determines what's going to happen on race day way more than which plan you pick. Quite frankly, I'm indifferent We offer 3 suites of products here. We'll talk about those later. But the outcome on race day, it doesn't really matter which one you pick. I say pick the one that stresses you out the least, that interests you the most. You're not going to get a bigger medal for working harder and stressing yourself out. And you absolutely still could get food poisoning the night before the race. So knowing that, and that's truly how I think about it when I go into a race training cycle, knowing that a lot of things could go wrong 20 weeks from now, what do I want to do today? What am I willing to do today? What am I ready to do today? And for this last race cycle in New York City, I was looking like a 355, 351. Well, that's where I was tracking throughout my training. I got a 416 on race day because, I got elbowed real hard in the gut in the Bronx. I'm okay with that finish time. I'm okay with everything about that race because it was stronger than I really deserved to be considering the past 2 years that I'd had. And my training reflected that. I didn't do any tempo runs. I did not do a single mile repeat. I did not do anything other than a few bursts trying to, get myself used to doing hard things again without taking any risks because I just had that surgery. So when you look at it all, it wasn't the training plan that brought me a 416 or I wasn't training to a 355. That's genuinely not how it works. And trying to change that mentality in people is impossible to do with the training frameworks and existing business structures at pretty much any other running company or coaching business that I've ever seen. So what we're trying to do here and do differently at Fitness Protection is give you a framework to go throughout the year so that you're fit enough. If you miss a long run here or there, who cares? And which training plan do you pick? The one that seems most interesting right now, or the one with the coolest name. I prefer Tenacious as Fuck. That's my personal favorite. But again, we'll talk about all that in a bit. What I wanted to do was put the focus where it needs to be on the day in, day out consistency that, well, look at that. I race next weekend. I'm in the taper. How'd that happen? And those 10 weeks, I wanted it to take all the pressure off and at least show people that if you try this, it might be the least stressful training cycle you've ever had. And it could be the best outcome ever. It could be the least disappointment you've ever felt on race day. It could be the best thing because it's absolutely not going to be the worst thing. And yet, in spite of all that, we still had a whole lot of people PR, which I'm not here to specifically only shout out PRs or talk about those, but I like showing that on my method, it's still possible. You're not categorically excluding performance or better by doing things the way that I do. What you are doing is taking out the odds of you being like, well, that wasn't worth it. This didn't work. I'm never doing that again. Or even worse, have the day that you want and then say, what next? And get the exact same training plan. Again, I'm going to be writing 2 marathon plans per year into perpetuity for Fitness Protection in each category. So you're never really going to have to do the same training plan twice. That's intentional.
And so really we're here to talk about 2 things. One is those marathon plans that a lot of people used this fall and had really great success with. And the other thing is the way that maintaining all year round has you in half marathon shape kind of whenever you want. So we have a few people who literally just did maintain. And then a week before their race, they modified the plan a little bit and then they went and ran a half marathon. First, we're going to hear from 2 of those people. And then we're going to talk in a little bit more detail about the marathon training plans themselves. But the beautiful thing about Maintain is that you can go run a half marathon pretty much any weekend of the year that suits you. Whenever it works for your schedule, you can even decide a week out, hey, you know what? Actually, I feel pretty good. I feel good enough to go run a half marathon. The weather's looking good. I'm not going to put any pressure on myself. I'm just going to go do it. And I really love that. That's my favorite way to race.
It is mine too. And I got to say, I know a lot of people may be perking up right now and saying, but wait, MK, you always said that we couldn't do # all the races. But you know what? That's true. In a performance training cycle, you can't. Because in a performance cycle, your world has to revolve around that training plan. You can't just go moving things around. Your hard workout has to be followed by a certain specific type of recovery. Everything is lockstep and you don't have a lot of flexibility. You don't have a lot of room to move. But you can get similar outcomes without that type of pressure and stringence. You really, really, really can.
So basically, when you're in the zone that the people in Maintain are in, what you get to do is have options and you get to look at what's interesting to you and say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go do that. And then there's so much less pressure on any single event that you might choose. And that gives you the mental flexibility, I think, to kind of come back from that and say, all right, how did that go? What did I learn from it? What am I going to do next?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a time and place to have an A race. There's a time and place to be like, right, we're going to dial it in for performance. But I have heard everyone in the past who said that 20 weeks or 24 weeks is a really, 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 really long time. Cool. I agree with that. But when we're trying to get the maximum performance out of a cycle, then I need, as a coach, the longest cycle possible, because you're going to be judging me by your finish time. Again, if we change the way we look at things and we change the value proposition, we can really improve the experience all the way around. And maybe you could find yourself still running 35 years from now the same way that I have.
Which is pretty amazing. So let's get started by hearing from first Trisha and then Lana, both of whom ran half marathons in the last couple of weeks and had some things to say. So here's Trisha from New Jersey.
My name is Trisha, and I live in central New Jersey. I've been in Maintain since May, and I really enjoy it. I've always liked having training goals, but what it turns out I really love is being on a plan. Maintain gives me the structure of a solid plan, plus strength and company. I enjoy the variety of the workouts, especially practicing different levels of effort and getting to know the different paces. I used to say that I had 2 speeds, on and off, and that is just not true anymore. I've had some great races this fall. Last week, I PR'd at a half marathon that I decided to sign up for just a month ago. Thanks for everything.
All right, and here's Lana.
Hi, everybody. This is Lana, and I've been training with Fitness Protection Program for about 6 months now. I started in the rebuild program after about a 1.5 year hiatus from running altogether. It started with a bout of plantar fasciitis for me, and then my husband, who is also my running partner, broke his ankle. And so I really got sidelined and had been incredibly inconsistent. So I started in the rebuild program and spent 2 solid months in the rebuild program. I can say from the beginning, within the first week or 2, I felt like a runner again, which was really amazing for me. After going so long without running consistently, to be able to log the kind of miles and the amount of time that I was logging, it was a real confidence booster. After 2 solid months in rebuild, I switched over to Maintain, and I can say that I was quite consistent with most of the runs throughout the rebuild and Maintain time period before running my comeback half, so to speak. I wasn't quite as consistent with the strength exercises, but I tried to work those in as well. What I love about Fitness Protection is that it's so doable, and it was a real confidence builder for me in terms of just being able to jump back in and log some serious miles. I also really like the variety in terms of the runs each week and even the strength exercises. I have to say I was astonished when I completed my comeback half. It had been 2 years since I'd run a half marathon, and that was really more of a run walk. And I came within 45 seconds of a PR for me. The race felt like work, but it also felt like a lot of fun. It's one of the most enjoyable races I've had, just running by myself and just seeing what I was capable of. And I'm still in awe of how well prepared I was for that half marathon after just running consistently, easy effort for 6 months leading up to that. I can honestly say this is the easiest training session I've had leading up to a half marathon, and it has been my favorite half so far. Maintain really allows me to keep a certain level of fitness so I can stay in half marathon shape all the time without killing myself, remain as injury-free as possible, and I'm loving it. For me personally and for my running, this has been a real game changer. Coach Sarah and Coach MK are my rocks and my rock stars.
Yay. Thank you so much for that, Lana. And thank you, Trisha, too.
That is just all the validation I could possibly ask for. That's exactly the experience I want people to have, right? It's not about more stress does not lead to more better. Like, save your stress for the other stressful things in your life. This is a hobby that's supposed to empower you, make you feel good, and give you an excuse to get out and move. And if you're like me, have a little alone time. Gosh, I like alone time. I don't get enough of that. To know that you're getting that reward little by little in the form of self-care on a daily basis and feel good about what you've done at the end is huge. That's really what I want for everyone. That's absolutely what I want for everyone.
Me too. That makes me really happy. And there's something just so empowering about kind of knowing that you're in this position where you can choose something that's interesting to you and go do it. And then kind of say, okay, what's next? The next person we're going to hear from is Emily, who just ran her first marathon at Philadelphia. And I am so proud of her. And I am so excited to hear her talk.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm officially a marathoner. Woohoo! I've been training with Fitness Protection since May, and I absolutely love everything about it. The runs are fun. The support is great from both the coaches and the other runners. In September, I started the Tenacious AF ramp up to prepare for my very first marathon, which was Philadelphia the Sunday before Thanksgiving. The plan was simple, very doable, even with a crazy work, school, home schedule that I've got. I completed my 2 4-hour long runs. Each one got me somewhere between 13 and 14 miles, which honestly had me a little nervous that it wasn't going to be enough. But MK and Sarah assured me I had got what I needed, and they were not wrong. Weather conditions were brutal on race day, and while my mind betrayed me, my legs never did. I stuck to my race plan, keeping an eye on my heart rate and pace, which I had programmed into my watch. So I did that for the first 26 miles and then gave it all I had for that last 0.2. I was the very last finisher across the line, finished in just under 8 hours, but I left everything I had on the course and it felt amazing. So I'm looking forward to slow burn in January and then maintaining the rest of 2020. And who knows, maybe YOLOing a half or two throughout the year. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Emily. Gosh, I was so excited the day you ran Philly. And I also just felt like, oh, I wish your first marathon did not have the absolute worst weather you could imagine.
Oh, I know.
Oh
I know.
Gosh. Rain,
so
wind,
cold.
snow, so cold. You are so tenacious. And so, MK, I want you to talk about a little bit like how you designed the Tenacious AF marathon ramp that Emily was using. You designed it with exactly Emily in mind. People who have reason to believe they might be out on the course for 6 hours or more, people who have never run a marathon before. My impression is that everyone who used it found it really, really approachable and just really like meeting them where they were at. So how did you decide on the workouts? How did you decide on the overall design?
I knew I wanted to change the conversation. And the way it tends to go now is that the assumption is the people who need coaching the most are the fast kids, the people with the biggest goals, the people that are working the hardest. And I just don't think that's true or fair when you think about hard. To do one thing continuously for 3 hours is hard. To do that same thing for 7 hours, I think is harder. So really, who's working the hardest and who is the worthiest and who's being left behind? So I knew I wanted to take a different approach to this because, quite frankly, the people that I think are like in wave one of the New York City Marathon, you know, they're not going to train with Fitness Protection, and that's okay. When I think about like who my target market is and who the sweet spot is, there's room for everyone in the way we do things, but there's something about that fast person that they want the coachy coaches. They want the Olympic coaches. They want to be associated with the fast training groups. And I don't want to have that type of exclusivity. I want to have the opportunity, but not the exclusivity. And we're just turning into another organization that's rewarding only the fast kids. I want to be there for everybody in the back, and I want to put them front and center. And that started by giving them the coolest name, and that's Tenacious as fuck. Tenacious AF, so you can actually put that on a t-shirt. And we have, if you check it out in the store.
Emily wore it when she ran Philly.
Loved it. It made me so happy to see that. I get so happy every time I see a purchase go through. And I love the shirt. Props and kudos to our designer, Kara, who like 6 is greater than 4, which is something I wrote like offhand on my whiteboard one day. And she turned that into a shirt because she's amazing. And I love that. Where it all kind of started was the conversation that I've been having over and over was starting to wear me down a little bit because I was seeing the people who I would consider to be the clients that were closest to my heart, meaning my heart broke for them the most frequently. And one of them was you, Coach Sarah. Like you worked your tail off over and over and you used the same plan over and over. And when something would go wrong, you automatically would look inside and you beat yourself up. What did I do wrong? I could have done this better, that better, and point at little things instead of looking at the fact that you had just done an incredibly hard training cycle after having a baby while managing all this stress in your life. And we see how much stress Ross brings to your life. because we see her in the strength videos saying, no, mama, watch this. And, like
shush, mama, shush.
Right? That you've managed to get anything done with her in the house for years, anything for yourself in and of itself is incredible. And I'm like, if Sarah can't see what she's done, then there is no hope for anyone else to see what they've done. Because when we think about, privilege and whoever would be at the top of the food chain, that you have a PhD from Harvard. Like, what more do you have to do in life to feel good about yourself? You've achieved something few people ever will, even if it's in Italian letters. Sorry. Maybe next time you can go get the whole alphabet, or maybe the whole language. That'd be nice.
And Kate, you just set me back in therapy like 3 weeks with that comment. I just want you to know.
You never should have told me Italian letters. Never should have. Like, we're getting a sash made up for you at 3 days at the fair, and it's going to say, like, just the letters. That's all you need. That's all you need. But I kind of love that too, just the basics. And that's all you need. But I was also thinking of people like you, and there are 2 other clients, one of whom whose name I don't have permission to say, but I watch her a lot more closely than I think she realizes. And I care a whole lot more than she needs to know that I do, because she will always pick the hardest plan. If I say, run, 3 to 6 miles, she'll run 8. If I say, give me tempo, effort, roughly 10K pace, she'll give me 5K pace, and she'll go longer. I had to reestablish what I viewed as overachieving. Like, if you want to overachieve today, do the run exactly as written and do an extra set of strength, because of those tendencies to, I will do whatever it takes. And she totally will. She would break her body to reach her goals. And it's my job to make sure she doesn't do that. And the other person that I was thinking of would have been doing the same plan for the 4th time. And I'm like, gosh, that doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right that the only way you can get a new plan is to get faster or be ready to do harder work. I could jam these out all day long. I could write a different marathon plan for every day of the year, or for the next 15, 20, 30 years. No one would have to do the same marathon plan twice unless they just wanted to. And it's not that complicated. It really isn't. So I was like, we need to do things differently so that a person who gets what they need, that they don't feel like they have failed to progress when they're on the same plan again, if they're in the same bucket. And I'm like, no wonder the things that I say to people don't sink in. The difference between a 4:15 and a 4:45 marathon, honestly, it's a couple of choices out in the run, which is not to say that, like, well, if you've been running a 4:45 marathon, you've been doing it wrong. But rather, if you're out there and you're trained for a 4:15 and you think that that's possible and it's chainable and like the most likely scenario, it doesn't take but a couple of bad choices to make that a 4:40. And that does not make you a 4:40 marathoner. It just means that that's something to learn from the next time. So when I think about like the wide swings that can happen if a person needs to walk, because think about that, walking is about an 18-minute mile. So as I found out in New York City, to go back to my example, granted, the reason that I can live with it was because I didn't make a bad choice. I was dealt a bad card, and that butthead got me in the, I'm never going to stop talking about that guy, y'all. I'm real sorry. But think about that. So I went from a 3:55 projected finish, which I really hoped that I could ramp up to like a 3:51 in the final miles. But I went from there to a 4:16. That's like a 21-minute offset because I had to walk. So that is how much a bad choice or an incident can set you back in a race. And then all of that stress was for nothing. And then to come back and be on the same training plan you were before, it feels like repeating a grade in school. People who gravitate towards distance running are overachievers. Like, we want the medal. We do want the glory, and that's okay. We want to say that we do hard things in our spare time because it's a really badass thing to do. And it gives us a really good reason, not just an excuse, but a reason to get our alone time in the form of a run, our self-care 5 days a week. Now, I have to do this in training for whatever. And if you need that justification, I see you, I feel you, and I'm thinking about you in this design too. So with those clients in mind, I said, we need to set this up differently. And here's where it needs to start. If there is no reason to think that you would break 6 hours in the marathon, you are tenacious as fuck. And you're going to get more of me than anyone else will. We're going to reward the people in the back. And we're going to give it the coolest name and make it the t-shirts that everybody wants. I want this to be the cool plan. Like, I want people to, instead of opting into what's the hardest, I want to make the not hardest the coolest. And I think it worked. I remember as soon as I explained the names to one person and saying, do you want to do what we want to do, this plan or this plan? She opted for the cooler name. And I'm like, the client I just described opted for not the hardest plan that I offered. And I was like, we nailed it. we did it. This is working. So if it's your first marathon, if there's no reason to think that you would be finishing it in under 6 hours, then get on Tenacious AF. Don't work harder than you have to. It's not less than. It's just smart. If this is like a cake that I've turned sideways, because that's how I eat my cake. Once you put it sideways on the plate, and this is the visual I need to give to Kara, it's like we're not stacking it, we're turning it sideways. So over here is Tenacious AF. This pretty slice in the middle is Dedicated AF. And that's for anyone who is, I'm reasonably certain I'll be faster than a 6-hour marathon, but I have no good reason to think that I would surpass 4. Then you're Dedicated AF. And then it's reasonable to think that you would break 4 in the marathon, but it doesn't really matter where. Then you're Steady AF. And eventually, when we have all of the products open and have made all the hires I want to make and we have everything like firing on 4 cylinders, there will be options for those people to get a little more touching if they want. I mean, obviously, there's going to be an upcharge for that. Because the one expectation I have of anyone who would break 4 hours in the marathon is that they are, in fact, Steady AF. They know how to run by feel, and they are experienced enough at the marathon distance to be like, not just based off my pace today, but in general, I know what I'm doing. And for everyone else, the marathon is a huge learning curve. Huge. So much can go wrong. And what feels good in the first hour won't feel good in the last hour. And it really takes 2 or 3 races to get a solid feel for the distance itself. And by 2 or 3 races, I don't mean over the course of a lifetime. I mean in recent memory. So if you ran one 15 years ago, sorry, it doesn't count. I want to think since you started your fitness journey, when I think about training age, so anything that would have existed within your current training age counts. And for me, my training age is like, honestly, we hit the reset button with that surgery. I'm only about 16 weeks old, 1 marathon in. Luckily, I had a lot of experience to draw on before that. But again, we know I'm a unicorn. That's really unusual. Most people just don't. It's not a bad thing. It just means they have less trauma in their life than I did.
Well, at 16 weeks old, you are cute as a button.
It's on my skin.
I know about that. I know all about that. Let me go ahead and play Christy's voice memo. She ran the Amsterdam Marathon with a full-time, super demanding job, and I loved everything that she had to say.
Hi, Coach MK and Coach Sarah. This is Christy Harrison. I'd like to offer up my review of the marathon ramp, which is offered as part of the Fitness Protection Program's Maintain plan. I started training with Coach MK as part of a different platform in November of last year. I had really looked at my fitness plan and the way that I had been training after running on a run-walk method for about 5.5 years. I really was struggling finding motivation to get out the door, the motivation to do the work, and the motivation to run. I kept putting plans on the calendar, different races, and each time without fail, life or other circumstances got in the way of training. I work full time as an attorney for a Fortune 500 company, managing about 70% of our international sales and other global business. I also have 2 very busy active teenagers who are in sports and a number of extracurricular activities. Finding time for training and feeling guilt about my training has always been one of my concerns. So finding the fitness protection program was really, really important because there is no guilt. There is no shame. There is no reason that I should ever feel guilty for doing less than. I started my marathon ramp in mid-August. I probably did 90% of the runs. Even while traveling, even while working and trying to manage my family's busy lifestyle. But I really found that the support of the group, the support of the coaches, even when I failed to do all of my strength training, I know coaches, I'll do better next time, really, really, really made a difference in terms of my motivation. So come October, I went and I ran the Amsterdam Marathon. I bettered my time by 4 minutes and 40 seconds. I ran the entire time. I finished strong. I never felt like I was stressed. And I know that the next marathon I run, I have more in the tank and I know how I will be able to do this better. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, coaches. I couldn't have asked for more. And I'm looking forward to continuing with you all on this adventure.
Yay. Thank you, Christy. I think that is such a perfect example of what you were just saying. Like someone like Christy, with the work that she has to do to find the time for running, it's amazing. She deserves to get a different training plan every season. If the idea that Christy would feel anything other than like, yeah, I'm awesome for slotting marathon training into this crazy busy life that I have, she is exactly the type of runner who deserves to be rewarded with feeling like there's new work for her to do every single cycle. And God forbid, like that would be a source of pressure. And as you heard from her, she's really, really good at, I think, kind of compartmentalizing and at saying, you know, I got what I needed and I'm good. She asked for reassurance a few times which made complete sense to me, but like she was so solid. She was so solid. And I just love that. And I love that the way we train people for marathons basically designed with someone like her in mind. And that makes me really happy.
I mean, theoretically, but I don't think anything could ever prepare you for Christy's actual questions. So to be really transparent here, Christy is Chief Legal Counsel for Harley-Davidson Europe. So her questions were like, we've got a 3-day rally that ends in Croatia. I have to go. And so now I'm like, all I can do is picture her. She's like, I'm probably not going to get my run done. What do I need to do? What do I need to shift? And so like, well, great. Now, very few questions involve a fleet of Harleys and an attorney on the back headed across Europe. I'm like, you know what, Christy, you're winning at life no matter what happens in Amsterdam on race day, which by the way, that is one of my favorite races. If you have not considered Amsterdam, I know people get excited about Paris and they get really excited about London and Berlin, and Berlin's a marathon major. But there's something to be said. If you don't live in Europe and you only get to go once, and this is a big, huge, special thing, make it Amsterdam. It's smaller. It's less crowded than London. It's so pretty.
Yeah, it's definitely on my list for sure. And yeah, Christy, of course, like someone with the kind of schedule that she has, am I going to be okay if I miss my run? Like, you are going to be the most okay. And I was just so excited when she ran her race and felt so great about it and had such a great day. She really deserved that.
Totally. And to put it in perspective, like, yeah, it's cool to say Harley Davidson, but like she is a very senior person at a global firm with a very tough job that is demanding. And she has children. And this is what she does in her spare time. All of our clients are badasses. Maybe we don't have specific like fleets of Harleys en route to Croatia in our head to think about when they ask the questions, but it's hard to get that out of your mind once you know. We had an attorney once for the Human Rights Campaign who was training with us to get through a really difficult period back in 2016 and 2017. Anyway, we've had really cool people that are doing cool things. And I say that not to be like, well, my job's not that cool and it's not that demanding, so therefore it's shaming to live in the shit. Give yourself credit for what you're actually doing, for what you're responsible for, and getting this done anyway is amazing. And it's not less than. It's amazing you get this done in spite of all the other things you could be doing. It's amazing that you choose yourself. Don't worry about what you didn't do, but focus on what you did do and celebrate the shit out of it, because there's not a single person here who lacks willpower or is lazy. I don't think that exists. Like, no one signs up for a marathon to get less lazy. They sign up to get some structure, some encouragement, and credit for the work that they do. And we provide all of that. And when you're getting that each step of the way, free from pressure, really putting what you do and the value of what you do and the importance of what you miss into proper perspective, you see that it's not like exactly one for one. It's not like missing a question on a final exam. And you can still have a really great day, even if you only did 70% of the training plan. And that's intentional. I never intended for anyone to do 100% of the plan all the time. There is a lot in there built for you to fail, not because you're a failure, but rather, isn't it good to know you don't have to do everything? I mean, there's something really relieving about that, knowing that I baked that in there. So if you can do all of it, great. You're that much more prepared. But if you don't, you're not behind.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of Maintain, is that if you have been in Maintain for a couple of months before you start a marathon training ramp, which is how we recommend using the training ramps, that's how it works. But you are automatically already, like you said, the die has been cast before your 10-week ramp even starts. You have already put yourself in a position where life can get in the way and you're still going to be great. And that's what I loved about hearing from Adrienne, the way she picked her race this fall and the way she approached her training. It just made me really, really happy.
If I could say one more thing, though, before we listen to her. The die was cast before any training plan, not just a 10-week plan. The die was cast before a 20-week plan, before an 18-month plan. The best thing we can do to increase your odds is to add more time, not more pressure.
Yes. All right, Adrienne, take it away.
Hi, I'm Adrienne from Brewster, New York, and I ran my 4th marathon this past October. I chose the Mount Desert Island Marathon for my fall goal race, and it did not disappoint. I wanted a scenic, challenging course that would take all the pressure off of a time goal, and I think MDI is perfect for this. I knew it was going to be a hectic kind of fall for me. So I had recently switched jobs in August. Then we sent our oldest off to a freshman year at college. I was traveling for that new job about 50% of the time. And then we still have a younger one in high school that started her cross country season for the year. And so if I hadn't been maintaining my fitness throughout the year, I never would have been able to manage a heavy build up to the marathon. But I think that's true for a lot of mom runners in fall. So I definitely felt no pressure or anxiety about the training because 10 weeks just didn't seem to be that insurmountable. But definitely if it had been a 20-week or a 24-week plan, I doubt I would have been able to manage that kind of thing, especially with all the travel. So race day wasn't all rainbows and unicorns, though. It turned out to be a little warmer than what I had anticipated Maine would be in mid-October, and I'm a heavy sweater. And I tried a new fueling strategy, and that fueling strategy worked great for 20-mile training runs, but the wheels definitely fell off the bus starting at mile 21 with some foot cramping and all that kind of stuff. But I just had to slow down a little, and it was fine because I wasn't going for a time goal. And I got some great race pictures because I made sure that when I saw a photographer, I definitely kicked it up a notch. Hurting foot be damned. And I had a romantic weekend getaway in Acadia National Park with my husband. We went hiking and shopping, and I definitely learned something during this marathon about proper fueling. So, I mean, it was just a win-win-win. And I want to thank Coach MK and Coach Sarah and the whole fitness protection community. I felt so supported and loved, motivated, and calm. And I've been part of the Maintain program since May of this year, and it's just been a fantastic experience. And I can't wait to do the goal planning for 2020 and just to see what 2020 brings at 3 days at the fair and everything else that you ladies keep dreaming up for all of us grateful hobby joggers. So thank you, and go run MDI. Bye.
MDI is a terrific race. And for the record, it is really, really hilly. It is the race that I use in my documents to say, like, here's a great example of a hilly race. It's MDI. It's like you're either going uphill or downhill. There's no flat anywhere in it continuously. It's gorgeous. It has been voted the most scenic marathon in America multiple times. But yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. I have actually run MDI before, and I can confirm it is very, 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 very hard. And I picked it for similar reasons. I wanted something where, like, I had no business thinking about the time on the clock. And that's why you run MDI. So go, Adrienne. I love it.
Yeah, because when you have goals other than PRs, you can still, again, have a really great time and a really good experience. And again, it's not less than, it's just a different way of looking at the same thing that sets you up for sustainability in the long haul. If it had to be a PR every time, I'd be out of this game already. I'm not going to PR again for another 3 to 5 years minimum.
Actually, that's a perfect segue into Karen, because Karen ran her 27th marathon this fall. She also picked a scenic, hilly, amazing marathon. And she also had some unexpected weather that made things tough on her, but she made the best out of a tough day.
Hi, Coach Sarah and Coach MK. This is Miss Karen calling. I'm leaving you a quick voicemail regarding my last marathon I ran in Scotland. I ran the Loch Ness Marathon. That was, believe it or not, marathon number 27, which I think I've already told you that. But it definitely wasn't the marathon or the experience that I was hoping for. But at the same time, I still had a great time. I finished with a smile on my face. I knew going into it, it was going to be difficult. We drove the course the day before, and I knew there were going to be hills, but those hills just never seemed to want to end. And I also had some really horrible weather and horrible wind, and it just really wasn't the best day. But I knew that I just really wanted to go and have fun, enjoy the scenery, and trust me, it is absolutely everything they say it is. Absolutely a stunning course for scenic destination. And that's exactly all I really wanted to experience. So, and once I knew that I probably wasn't going to get the time or have the marathon that I really, really wanted, I just kicked back and just enjoyed the day. I cramped up a little bit, probably due to the hills and the weather. But, if I were to go into a marathon hoping for a certain time, I would have probably quit running marathons a long time ago. I've run many, and many of them have not been spectacular, but it's never stopped me from going back, trying it again, and getting a different experience after each and every marathon I run. They've all been a learning experience, and going into the marathon, I just really tried to take whatever it is from that particular marathon, and they are also very, very different. Come at it with something positive and go forward. And I'm just really, really blessed to be able to continue to do this sport that I love so much. And I think heart rate training and your marathon programs and your maintain programs have really allowed me to continue to do this sport for the long haul. And as I approach 60 and going into even later years from there, I'm pretty dang excited and pretty dang happy of where I'm at right now. And it has nothing to do with a time on the clock. Yeah, I have goals and I hope to get back to Boston someday, but it's not my number one goal. My number one goal is actually to stay injury free. And I'm just really, really excited to be able to say that it's working. It's whatever you do has really helped me get to the start line and the finish line. And I'm pretty pumped. So I'm really, really excited for the goal planning session come Friday, I believe, of this week, and looking forward to 2020. And with that being said, I just thank you for loving me and coaching me. And here's to 2020. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen, and congratulations on 27 lifetime marathons. That is amazing.
Truly outrageous. I loved hearing that. It makes me happy to hear her say that, because Karen is one who would work herself into the ground. She's not afraid of hard work. She's not afraid of trying harder. And as a coach, again, where I feel like my place needs to be with everyone I touch, there's a perception that coaching, I'll just say it, we've made abuse okay. We have tolerated it in places because we think it's that pressure and the nonsense that leads to greatness. We've justified it as part of the job. It's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people are afraid to work with a coach. Shoot, I'm very cautious about the coaches I want to hire because a lot of people still think that's what coaching is. That's what a lot of coaches still do. So my coach does not do that. My coach is just like, she's a lot like me. You've met Tia, or you've seen Tia on the YouTube channel and seen how we talk to each other. You don't have to have a heavy hand and a tough approach to get what you want. And, I've got that coming at me at enough areas of my life telling me that I could be doing better and trying harder. And why don't I care more? This is going to be left behind and you'll be left behind. And I'm just like, whatever. It's just noise at this point. So yeah, I don't think that I have to be an abusive butthole to bring out the best in you, but I don't think that's what brings out the best in anyone. It just makes them try harder. And everyone here is trying plenty hard. I know I'm known as like the soft emotional coach, which is funny to me, but I'm just going to give you credit for the work that you're doing. And I'm not going to overlook the fact that there's a damn good reason you missed your run. And it's not that you're lazy and it's not that you're missing something. And I don't think I need to be tough on anybody. You set the goal, I chart the course. And I don't think I need to beat you up in order to get you there. Every once in a while, I'll get a new client. It's like, I'm ready. Let's go, coach. I'm ready for whatever you dish out at me. And I talk really fast, and yes, I get excited, but I'm like, I'm not mean. Like, I feel like that's usually what they're saying. Like, I'm ready for you to be really tough on me. Like, you understand that's not what I do. I don't know where that came from. I'm just opinionated. And my opinion is that you're awesome.
The perception that what you really need is accountability, and that's why, you hire a coach or sign up for a training program. That's really pervasive and often, I think, totally unexamined. And that is something that we kind of force everyone to examine here. Like, do you really need accountability, or is it the support and the validation?
What I hear is when someone says to me that I need, and this is just through the lens of my experience, when they're saying to me, I need accountability, they're not saying I can't do it or I don't want to do it or I won't do it. But what they're saying is, I need you to help me keep me in the Jenga pile of priorities, because there's so much that only I can do, including take care of myself. And there's no one else that will give me the grace that you do that says, you know what, get your run done, then take care of them. It's not about a flaw that we're trying to fill. It's a void in the other parts of their life. And that's it. Like, don't worry about what you missed, but don't feel guilty saying, hey, look, I got a race coming up and I care about this. Or, you know what? I've got my health and I care about this. I need my me time. I care about this. My coach says I fit under buses, put me there. When they need accountability, what they need is someone to point to and say, well, she says I have to run today. I signed up for this. I'll be back. And I would love to be in a world where grown women don't need trump cards in order to get what they need out of a day. But we are not there yet. We are not yet at the point where we can say no, stand behind it, and not have it continually assailed by the people around us. We tell people, like, you need to have boundaries, but we don't show them how to erect them, and we don't come stand next to them when they try to keep that boundary intact and in place. We leave everyone on their own, and then we're like, well, you didn't ask right, and you didn't advocate, and you, without looking at all the other forces. I'm here for that. I see those forces. I will help you act against them. I will be that thing that you need, saying, yes, you go do this for you. No, don't you give up on this goal. No, don't you give up on you. Like, yes, you can have it all, but you're going to have to say no to something, and I'm not going to let that thing be you. Not today. And so when someone says to me, I need accountability, that is what I think they need. And I assume that's what they mean, because I'm not going to do it if you're not making me. That's like a kid making their bed. And you know what? Do they really need to make their bed? I have a hard time with that with my kids too. My husband's like, their beds aren't made. I'm like, they're going to get back in them in 3 hours. I want them to get back in them in 3 hours. Let's make it easy to get back in bed in 3 hours. Why are we going to make the bed up?
There are 0 made beds in my house at any given time.
The only reason mine is made is so I can put my to-do piles on top of it in chronological order.
Yep. That makes sense. And when I have the wherewithal to make my bed, I kind of look at it and say, oh, this looks nice. And then I immediately start making piles of things on it.
Yeah.
I do think that there's really something to that. The way we think about accountability and the way we talk about accountability, especially in fitness, especially in running, is exactly what you said just then. If you don't make me do this, then I'm not gonna. So I'm going to sign up for a marathon because that'll make me run. And I think that so often that it comes from a place of like trying to shame yourself into doing the thing that you think you should do,
but don't really want to do. Right. And that's where I think this is really different, because if you're in maintain and you're thinking about, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to run this half marathon? I could go do that. Do I want to run a marathon? Do I really want to spend my spare time doing something that I might be bad at? Because everything in my life has ever told me not to waste my time, especially the cult of productivity that's emerged in our information age and internet era. Like, well, I'm not the best at this, so I shouldn't try. Like, that's stupid. Go learn to play the piano. Go learn a foreign language. Shoot, yes, run a race. And not every second of your time has to be productive. And I just think it's stupid when coaches are like, and because I see this happen at like the junior high and the high school level, like, you aren't good at this. You weren't meant for this. Put your time elsewhere. That's not okay. And that's not kind. What you just did was told them that, like, especially if they liked it, there's something really ugly that we refuse to see in the messages that we send children. And when they grow up into adults and come to me, what they're usually trying to explore is, hey, I think I might still be this thing. I think somebody might have been wrong about me. And you sound like someone who might be able to see through the bullshit. And I am.
So the last person I want to hear from is Kara. And Kara did something that I am not sure I could ever do. I think it is so amazing. She ran the Pikes Peak Ascent.
I've never done that. And I live here. It's hard.
Well, and that's one of the things that she talks about is she does not live at altitude. She does not live in a place where she has Pikes Peak anywhere nearby. And she had a really amazing experience and did a really great job. And I love what she had to say.
And can I say too, she reached out to me like a long time before this, before I even knew I was going to open Fitness Protection, and said, could we work on this on the side? And I was like, oh, without something like an infrastructure like the monthly plans, no, it's not going to be worth it to pay for a one-on-one coach, because it's going to be minimum $150 to $200 a month every month. And we're going to need a lot of time to get ready for this, because we would be starting in the winter. This happens in August. And is it really worth 8 months at $200 a month? Is it worth $1,600 investment? Nothing I do and no outcome will be worth the $1,600 investment in this. So let's think about it and come back later. And honestly, I forgot. She didn't.
Because she kept running. She didn't stop. And then she joined Maintain as soon as Maintain opened.
When you hear what she has to say, this made my soul smile, because it's exactly what I want. I could charge more. I could do more. It's not the business I want to build. And every example that you're hearing here today is validation of this crazy vision that I had several years ago, and this crazy idea that I had that I have not been able to explain to any marketer or any business manager. One by one, I've assembled a team of people who kind of see where I'm going, and they're like, yeah, that's balls. That could work. But it's one thing to hear it from people that are talking about a vision. It's another to hear it from these people, the people that are doing it. And it just blows my mind. And I'll tell you that to say this. She paid us all way less than $1,600. More money and more stress would not have led to a better outcome than what she had.
Yep. I agree. All right, Kara, take it away.
Hi, Fitness Protection Program. This is Kara M. calling to tell you about my experience with maintaining instead of training and some of the races that I've done since starting this. I originally started training with MK's monthly plans in November 2018 and immediately joined Maintain as soon as beta testing opened. I tend to be pretty type A for a lot of things in my life, but for some reason, not exactly so with training plans. I get a lot of joy out of looking at the training plans and putting them in my calendar, programming the runs in my Garmin, but inevitably I get off track and miss runs and never know how to get back on track. But Maintain brings me right back on track at the first of every month when I get my new fresh plan. Since starting Maintain in April, I've had 2 pretty epic races. In May, I ran the Flying Pig Half Marathon and got a PR, felt incredible, and had so much fun. I think I was less stressed than a typical half marathon because I didn't have the same pressure of a 20-week training plan leading up to the race. But the most incredible thing I've done, really ever, is the Pikes Peak Ascent this August. I had decided that I wasn't really ready for the challenge of a full marathon and the training for a full marathon yet. But in 2018, when I was at Pikes Peak spectating, I decided that a half marathon going up a mountain would be a nice intermediate challenge before jumping to a full marathon. But I started Maintain. I followed the plan and then really just adjusted and did a little bit of the marathon ramp and a little bit of extra treadmill incline walking and stair mill at my gym. I really felt amazing when I got to Pikes Peak, and doing that race was the most incredible experience of my life so far. It took me 6 hours and 27 minutes to finish the race. The cutoff time to get the medal and the finishing shirt was 6 hours and 30 minutes. So I'd say that I did it perfectly because I didn't overwork myself. I made it up the top. I got to stop and enjoy some of the views. And I managed to do a half marathon up Pikes Peak while training in St. Louis, Missouri, pretty darn close to sea level. So thanks, MK. Thanks, Sarah. Appreciate everything that you guys have done here. And if anyone wants to come join me at Pikes Peak next year, I'll be there.
No, thanks, Kara. I'll come run with you in St. Louis, though. I actually like running in St. Louis. My family lives there.
We'll do a shakeout run with you. We'll cheer with you.
There you go.
But no. For the record, this is so much harder. This is way harder than a marathon. I love how she decided to look at this. This is so much harder than a marathon.
Oh my God, truly. Every time there's been a possibility of tracking people who've been doing races, I'm out there tracking them because I just can't help myself. And when she was out there on the course, I was just refreshing and refreshing and refreshing. And I just cheered so loudly when I saw that she had finished. God, Kara, that is so hard what you did. And I'm so excited for you that you're still looking back at this because you just recorded this week. So it's been, 5 months. Right? Do I have that right? 4 months. And you're looking back at this and still feeling the glory of that day. That makes me really happy.
Gosh, me too. Because that's, again, what I want everybody to feel after every race. When we're coming in, we're training for an event. People always have, like I said, that finish time is in mind or that expectation of performance is already set. Then I have to struggle to meet those expectations. All the incentives around it just don't work. But when it can be okay, we're just going to get really fit and then see what happens. It's amazing what happens. I love it when people ask me for a half plan and I'm like, yeah, you don't need it. You don't need it. You're here for 3 months. You've been here. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, you're going to be all right. There's tighten it up for sure if you really care about that finish time for the month or so before. The specificity you need is the consistency of not stopping, right? There's a base level of fitness for a hobby jogger that Steph Bruce Rothstein or Lauren Fleshman, they don't have that same luxury of being I'm just going to not stop because their best has to compare to somebody else's best and their peak fitness. They're as fit as those bodies could possibly get. So yeah, they have to go in one mode versus another mode and there are trade-offs there. Those trade-offs don't exist for us. We just have to show up and not do anything too dumb. I mean, I love that. I love that. I think I'm one of the happier people that I know is because I was winning at life by the time I graduated from high school. All I had to do realistically was not get pregnant before I got married and not get arrested before graduating from high school. After graduating from high school, it's different. But before graduating from high school, while I'm still under my parents' house, nope. So I was winning at life when I got into Georgetown. I was the first person from my county to go to any top tier school. It just doesn't happen. I mean, excluding Vanderbilt, but anything else Ivy Leagues don't happen. Then to go and to travel and work abroad, not in the military. Not that one is better. It's just that the roads that I have traveled are not the roads that lead out of my hometown. There is no expectation for that I would do those things. And when I'd be around other people, they're like, how the F did you get here? You defied all these odds. I tell you that to be there is no point in my life where I could be wow, I deserve this. I expected this, or felt I've worked for that and I got this. The kids at Georgetown who didn't get into Harvard and were really disappointed to be at Georgetown. It was there. I was this is my first choice. I'm this is great. But there's the people whose parents have been disappointed because they had expected better than Georgetown. There are so many people who go through this life feeling I should be there, but I am here and hate it. And if I can take that out of fitness and running and racing for people, I'm so happy to do it. You're by no means behind. You are not losing and you never have been. The only thing that's been incorrect in your life is the perspective you've been allowed to carry around. Let me change that for you, show you what you have been doing, continue doing things a little bit differently and really see the joy and give yourself the credit you deserve for all the work that you've done. Fuck yeah, I give A's for effort around here. And I don't say that lightly. We don't have people who aren't putting in effort. What we have is a structure that gives you the ability to start again with everybody else on the first day of every month. No questions asked. To me, that's worth $30 to know that if everything gets in the way and everything is in my face and nothing gets done, I can hit the reset button and be right where everybody else is and feel like I'm just coming back in to where I wanted to be, where I intended to be once a month. Every month of the year. You don't get that in a marathon training plan. You don't get that when you're working in a really hard performance cycle. It's a train that leaves and you're left behind. And if I'm going to truly leave no runner behind, then frankly, we've done it. I've got to do things the way that I'm doing them now. And I love that it's coming together and I love that it's working. And I love to hear all this happiness because for years, all I heard was angst. I didn't have the day that I wanted. I didn't get what I deserved. I didn't get what I worked for. I'm really disappointed. And it's man, you ran close to a 3-hour marathon. How are you disappointed with this? Well, it should have been. Even Steph Rothstein, she ran that 2:27 massive PR in Chicago, but it was supposed to be the 2:24. And she was really unhappy with that. And she was open about that on Instagram. It's PR. I'm happy, but it's still not the time I was going for. No matter how fast you get, the marathon's always a heartbreak, something along those lines. And that's really true. If there's a part of you that's striving and yearning, the name of the game to do this for a really long time is to keep that hope and that fire burning, to keep the hope alive. And that's not going to happen if every time you race, all it does is prove that you suck, that you didn't work hard enough, that you could have tried harder, that you're missing something, that you weren't born for this, if that's confirmation bias, it's not true analysis. My analysis says that you're fucking fantastic. You have everything you needed from the start and that you're looking at this incorrectly if you're looking in the mirror and seeing anything other than the tenacious as fuck badass you've always been.
I think we have to end it on that. That was the perfect summation of why you should come and train with us, because that is how you will feel. And if you don't feel that way the first time, it's okay. You'll learn. We're all learning here. I'm learning this every time I sign up for a race. In the last 2-3 years that I've been training this way, there is something new that I learn about myself and about the way I relate to racing and about what is possible for me in my brain and in my body. If you're listening to this, I hope you are planning on attending our 2020 goal setting session this afternoon, December 6th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. If you are listening to this and you have already missed the goal planning session, that is okay, because we are here for you and we want you with us. Registration is open 24/7 for Maintain. And if you maintain with us for a few months and you're ready to go off and run a marathon, or you're ready to join our slow burn program in January, we are here for you.
Just saying, I can't wait to coach and love you. And slow burn's really amazing. It's going to be so great. We've got such good stuff coming down the pike. I'm so excited about 2020. I'm grateful to everyone who is bound together to make this happen. And I'm grateful to everyone who's sharing their experiences, their positive experiences, and privately sharing the negative ones so that we can make the program better for everyone. I love everything that you guys are putting out into the universe right now. And I just aim to be worthy, really, of your time, attention, and $30 per month for as long as it possibly can.
You're coached, you're loved, and you are winning at life.